Monday! Welcome into another episode of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Jacob, Mr. Casey Kinnaman's over there, and Mr. Nick Carnes down below. We're brought to you as always by our friends over at SeatGeek. Make sure if you want to get in on some Cavs playoff action, go over, get your tickets at SeatGeek. Use our promo code Barking Browns, get $20 off that first purchase. Please make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Give it a little big old thumbsy up. Gentlemen, how are we on this fine Sunday Eve?
Doing good, man. I've down here. You guys have been getting some rain from what I've been gathering, but down here it's been
for 4 days. Yes.
Yeah, yep. It's been like mild temperatures, but sunny. It's been pretty. But I've been doing yard work. I've done enough yard work over the last 2 weekends to fill out a year. So, but I'm pumped to get to do this with you guys on Sunday night now. So I'm just excited to see where this goes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. It's nice to be here on Sunday night. Kind of weird, but definitely fun. I see we've got MC here. And yes, we realize Cavs are on, but sorry, that's just the way things got to go. Got to do a Browns show, got to watch Cavs, got to too much to do. But it's a blessing. Honestly, it's a blessing that we get to talk about the Browns and we get to have the Cavs. I've got them right there. But regardless, I have been inspired by the Browns draft to start getting some new hats, some new fun Browns things. So I'm just here to have fun and let's see. Let's talk about this.
I have something. I will do it later, but I got something. I got something for you down there.
Oh, okay.
I got something. Gentlemen, we last week did kind of I was a little bit part of the kind of wrap up of overall draft class. Just a reminder, I have a B on the Browns overall draft class. I love that a million people on Twitter have said, like, if you just put the players they got in a different order, you would like be super stoked about it. And I'm like, I think there's other teams that did the exact same thing. I've been listening to some national pods and they're like, I just don't know why they took this guy here, but then they got this guy there. And you're like, well, yeah, if you just tell me the haul, I'm pretty happy with that. It was kind of a crazy draft in that sense.
Because if you watched it live, it was weird and it was wild. It was all over the place. But if you'd have went into a coma right before the draft started and woke up like 5 days later and you found out they got all those players, you'd have been pumped.
Shut up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody wants to hear your yapping. You don't need you yapping on the show.
Well, he's missed you being up here doing the show, Jacob.
Where's he at?
Aw, how you doing there, Buster? We got doggos on the show. That's Sunday night show for you.
I don't know what he's all upset about.
Well, I think we're breaking down one of the Browns draft prospects today, and we've got someone very special to help us do so. I'm not sure who's doing the intro, but I know we're about to have one.
You.
Yeah, luckily we know somebody that can help us out with this. And sometimes when we talk about these prospects, we're going to have people on that aren't necessarily Browns fans that just followed them through college, covered them in college, But we get a double dip tonight. This is especially exciting. So we have Mr. Josh Keatley from the Ohio State of Mind podcast. There he is, live in your face. And we're going to break down Quinshon Judkins tonight. But first off, let's start here since you're a Browns fan, man. Kind of give us the overview of how you feel about this draft, where your head was at when you found out they were trading back and the wild ride that ensued.
That's always a fun question, the trade back question.
It's not a tough question at all for me, man. I loved it. I'm looking through the draft. There's not one thing that I thought that they did bad. There are obviously picks where I'm looking at the board and I'm going, okay, I wouldn't have picked him. I'd have picked this guy. But I don't think that that's a bad pick. I can see the justification there. Mason Graham, like I said, I told you guys before the show started, I had the honor of seeing him in person. And even as an Ohio State fan, my God, the dude's an absolute unit. He's not going to be a bust. He may always be okay, but he's not going to be Phil Taylor. He's not going to be Danny Shelton. He's going to be a dude. He's going to be a reliable part of this defense for 10 years. And my God, he's going to try. He's just absolutely an absolute bowling ball. I love that they picked him. I wouldn't have been mad if they took him at number 3 over Travis Hunter. I swear to God, I wouldn't have been. So to get him and still get that haul, whoo, dude, I think that was the best choice. when you grab a guy like Travis Hunter, there's so many expectations around that. You have to have a plan. Some of those expectations are just flat out unreasonable. And I like Travis Hunter. I wouldn't have been mad if they picked him. But, I think what they did was better. I really, really, truly do. It's important to find these expectations that you can achieve, right? And I think that they did that, and I loved it. But, man, we can go through one by one. They grabbed the linebacker from UCLA in the second round, Carson Schwesinger. I think that guy is very solid. Would I have taken him? That's one of the picks where I probably wouldn't have taken him. I don't think he was a reach. I don't think that they overdrafted for him or anything like that. It's just there were some other things on the board I was excited about. He's an explosive athlete who was a former walk-on. So you get that work ethic with that rare athleticism, that sideline to sideline ability. That's really hard to find. Most walk-ons don't have that athletic ability. He checks those, but that's great. That's great. He was the best linebacker left on the board. There's really no argument, right? And then the next pick, obviously, Quinshon Judkins, we're going to talk about. And then they drafted Harold Fannin from Bowling Green, the tight end. I was texting my friends, why isn't Fannin going? Why isn't Fannin going? Mason Taylor goes before him. I'm sitting here going, dude, Fannin was a dog at BG, bro. He was a dog. And everybody's texting me, well, he can't block. He can't block. Neither can Mason Taylor, dude. None of these tight ends can block. But I tell you what, dude, no one is tackling Fannin. That guy, dude, his tape is so comparable to what David Njoku did at Miami, just getting the ball, breaking tackles. They handed the ball off to Fannin at Bowling Green. That dude is dude, that guy's going to be a dog. That might have been my favorite pick. Dylan Gabriel, we talked about a little bit before the show. Again, that's another pick. I probably wouldn't have taken him. At this point, I'm thinking Shador. And they took Dylan Gabriel. And I'm like, all right, that's probably about right. That's probably the great Dylan Gabriel's a very nice guy. He's a very smart guy. He probably was going to go in the third round. Like, they probably weren't going to be able to trade back and get him. He was people really like him, and the fact that he was in college for 7 years. He can't throw the deep ball. He simply can't. He's got to put his whole body into it. But I'm okay with the pick. And then Dylan Sampson, I think that was a great pick. That was an absolute steal. Super athletic dude. I think the only reason he fell is because he offered. He's pretty unproven in the passing game. Can't pass block worth a lick, but that's all right. You got two running backs. And then they finished off with Shador, who I gave a first-round grade. Like, I like Shador. I think he was great. He held on to the ball a little too long at Colorado, but, did he, though? You know what I mean? Like, he was constantly waiting for those guys to get open deep because they were all faster. I don't know. It's just I really like the draft. I really, really like the draft.
Yeah, I think the thing that really gets us, and we can start to get a little bit into Quinshon here as we kind of the main topic here, but the thing that really gets me with the two running backs was just how well they mesh. Because Judkins is the workhorse, right? Like, he's hit your wagon to him, give him the ball. Because I look at the Browns as a 35 plus rush attempts per game kind of team this year, and it's like Quinshon's 20 to 25. That's where I'm at. Like, you do that, and it's like you have him who he's plenty explosive too. He doesn't really have that extra gear to take it all the way to the house. He gets caught from behind some, here and there, but you're getting the shit knocked out of you by Quinshon for 3.5 quarters, 3+ quarters, whatever. And then you got to go try to catch Dylan Sampson.
Yeah. Looking at the board, there were two running backs that were kind of like the ultimate complementary pieces to Quinshon at that point. And I preferred Devin Neal from Kansas, but I think he went 2 rounds later, and he's much smaller. So I get it. I get the justification. You wanted someone that I don't think Devin Neal can be a dog. I think Sampson he can turn into a more reliable every down back than Devin Neal. I just think Devin Neal's more explosive, but Sampson's explosive. He like you said, it's a perfect complement to the hammer that is Quinshon Judkins.
I think the thing that makes me most confident about the pairing is we've already seen Kevin Stefanski's offense so well use two different running backs. Like Chubb and Hunt were awesome together. They rushed for over 200 yards a bunch of different times. And the Browns had I don't know if the Browns lost a game where Chubb and Hunt rushed for 200 yards.
It'd be pretty hard to. It'd be pretty hard to, because if they're running the ball that much, it means they were probably in control.
Right,
Well,
which is just so encouraging about this fit and like what this offense can be. I think that's honestly why I'm higher on the Browns overall than a lot of other people seem to be, because I remember how dominant that run game was and the offense became with the type of run game that I think Judkins and Sampson can provide.
I think that I just think that a lot of people don't see the vision. They're looking at the picks one by one, and they're like, why would you take two running backs? And it's like, dude, those two things mesh really well. I mean, if you told the average fan, hey, you're going to get the SEC leading rusher in the 4th round, you're going to most people would be stoked, right? I mean, that's a great without knowing anything else, most people would be stoked. So I thought it was an absolute steal in the 4th round.
I'm similar to you because the race between my favorite pick between Judkins and Fannin is razor thin.
Yeah.
I just love what Judkins represents because we want to get back to being physical, and being a run-first team. All the tropes of a Stefanski offense, you need a central figure to handle the load, and that's Judkins, right? But you cover Ohio State, so kind of take me back to when Judkins hit the portal and you found out he was coming to Ohio State. I'm sure you did a deep dive right then and there of what he was coming out of Ole Miss. So what were your initial thoughts on Judkins when that first happened?
Yeah, man. So when he entered the portal, there was a small group of people that were kind of, people that were in the know. And I don't want to say I was in the know, but there was a community of people that kind of knew that he was really considering Ohio State because he had the connection with Igbenogson, he had the connection with Tywone Malone. The NIL down at Ole Miss is kind of weird. They pay guys to come in, but they don't really pay the guys to stay. He was seeing a decrease in carries. Kirk Herbstreit did an interview with Pat McAfee, basically talking about how Quinshon Judkins wasn't even that good of a transfer portal addition for Ohio State because he wasn't going to start at Ole Miss the next year. So we kind of knew, we thought that there was an opportunity. The way college football is with the season, with the extended playoffs and guys playing 16 games now and everybody knowing that the shelf life of a running back is so small, these guys don't want to go and be the workhorse anymore. They don't want, once they do it somewhere, and Quinshon already proved that, right? He was, I think he led the SEC in rushing as a freshman. He already showed that he is a workhorse. Now he's wanting to go somewhere and kind of be, a secondary piece or do a timeshare, get healthy, win some games and go to the NFL. So yeah, we a lot. I was not surprised. I was not as surprised as most people when he announced he was coming in. Especially with Dallin Hayden entering the transfer portal, right? There was always going to be that second back that was looking to go. And he's a complete I don't want to say he's a complete opposite of TreVeyon Henderson, but kind of like we talked about Dylan Sampson, they complement each other really, really well. So we kind of knew what his role was going to be. And it wasn't surprising at all. And you immediately knew you were getting something special. I know that there was a lot of hype around Caleb Downs because he's coming off an All-American season and yada, yada, yada. And when he entered the portal, everybody kind of knew Ohio State was in the picture. So I feel like the hype kind of was already there. Quinshon didn't really get a chance to get that hype because it was such a surprise. I believe he committed to Ohio State the day Michigan won the national championship from the portal. Like he did it at like midnight or something. So it's kind of like, well, that was a little good Ohio State news on such a somber day. But I think that the hype had people known that it was going to be Ohio State was going to be in the picture would have been much, much higher. Because I think that I don't want to say he was more pivotal than Caleb Downs, but I mean, he played a role. There's no doubt that he was extremely vital to how Ohio State won these games and distributed the carries and kept TreVeyon Henderson healthy. But yeah, man.
So one thing that I really enjoyed, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but with him, there was something that they ran. I don't know. It was during a game, like a pregame for one of Ohio State's games this year or something. And they talked about how when he was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go to Ohio State. Like, and Ryan Day had that conversation, like, he called TreVeyon, right? He called TreVeyon Henderson and was like, you're cool with this, right? Like he was, they had this conversation and Quinshon understood. Like, it felt like to me, he was willing to put aside some personal stuff for teammates to win. Is that kind of like your vibe with him where it's like he will do what the team needs him to do rather than worry about what it makes puts the team ahead of himself, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Quinshon's a great human being. All those guys are great human beings. I gave Ryan Day a lot of hell, which I can't now because we won that championship after, for losing to Michigan multiple times in a row. But one of the things I've always stood my ground on is that he recruits good people and he makes them better people, and he's always honest. So yeah, whenever you see somebody enter the transfer portal or whatnot, or them in the works, he always has a conversation with guys that are kind of leaders in the clubhouse. That's Travion Henderson, right? To talk about the addition of Quinshon, and everybody kind of knew that Travion, when he was getting recruited, he was one of those guys that kind of had the foresight to be like, I don't ever want to be the only guy. He came in with the Evan Pryor, and that was the plan, was always to split carries with Evan Pryor, who ended up transferring to UC. So there wasn't really a lot of convincing, but I believe Travion helped convince Quinshon, like, hey man, we could be a good tandem. Like, let's, if I'm cool, if you're cool, I'm cool. And that's kind of went down. And yeah, Quinshon, I was at every game, and you could see the body language, and he's rooting for Travion. There was never, you never got the feeling that there was any kind of like, man, that was my touchdown, or man, I should have been out there. And I haven't been covering Ohio State for a really long time, but long enough where I've seen it. I've seen that kind of body language and stuff. And Quinshon Judkins doesn't have that. And he's a great person. He's a great human being. And they all are. But yeah, he's going to come to the Browns, and he's going to elevate the aura, or whatever term you want to use, in the locker room, for sure. All those Ohio State guys. I don't want to sound biased, but all those Ohio State guys would.
So when you think about his season, this past season, where do you think he really hit his stride?
Well, definitely later in the season, but I mean, they all kind of did. There's not one specific game. You notice more when he wasn't making an impact. That first game against Oregon, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, right? He's just a very workman-like running back, right? Where it's like, oh, Quinshon's out there. Oh, he got the 4 yards, right? And then when he doesn't get the 4 yards, you're like, oh my God, Quinshon only got 3. Is everything okay? You know what I mean? Which I think is a good thing. And he wasn't the only one that had a bad game against Oregon the first time around, obviously. But yeah, that was kind of when it was most noticeable. I had Travion Henderson higher on my board. I don't want to sit here and lie on your podcast. I wanted the Browns to take Travion Henderson, but you could see why they picked Quinshon, right? For all the stuff you guys just said, Quinshon is the hammer. Right, they're looking for the centerpiece of the rushing attack. They're looking for a guy that can handle 20, 25 carries a game. I don't know if Travion can do that. I like Travion because he's great out of the backfield. He is a receiver. In today's NFL, I feel like he fits that more Alvin Kamara mold that a lot of teams are striving for. But the Browns don't want. That's clearly not what they were looking for with their 1A back. They were looking for the guy that could get 4 yards, fall forward, and replace Nick Chubb. And Quinshon does that. And when he didn't do it last year, which is few and far between, is really, like I said, is really only the one game. You notice, but I would say, just like everybody, the playoffs, you could tell. I think he caught a couple good passes out of the backfield. They were including him in the passing game. He had a couple nasty blocks. You guys all watch Ohio State football. Usually it's Travion Henderson that has the highlight reel pass blocks. No, Quinshon had a couple of those during the playoff run and late in the season. He did. So, you had to include them there. In the passing game, too, it got to the point later in the season where early in the season you were kind of thinking, okay, well, Travion they're only going to throw the ball to Travion. Travion is by far the better receiver out of the backfield. He's quicker. He's got cleaner hands. Quinshon, there was a couple passes really that he kind of double clutched and, he just kind of looked clunky, didn't look as smooth. During the back end, he had a couple of receptions where it was like, this guy's, I mean, I'm not super confident that if that screen pass that occurred, if that didn't go to Quinshon, he might have taken it to the house. I'm starting to think that the big negative that everybody has, like, oh, he's not as effective in the passing game. Maybe that's not true. Maybe we just didn't see it because Travion was the first go-to in the passing game. Maybe Quinshon can do that because he definitely showed flashes of that later in the season for sure.
For what it's worth, he looks like a natural pass catcher to me. Like I was watching a lot more Quinshon, and he doesn't seem uncomfortable with it. So I am hoping that we can see some type of pass catching ability out of him.
And that's not a fair comparison. I apologize. Maybe I should have clarified. When you're comparing the ability of it as a receiver to Travion Henderson, that's not exactly fair because Ohio State was throwing it to Travion 20, 30 yards down the field, right? And they weren't doing that with Quinshon. But just to clarify.
No, that's totally fair. And I think, Josh, as a Browns fan, how the team has just lacked physicality since Nick Chubb went down in Pittsburgh, and he was working his way back. But it really, I mean, not only did the run game not work, but it just felt like the Browns became more of a finesse type offense because Jerome Ford's just not the type of guy that runs over people. And so I think the thing that the reason, so I understand your reasoning for Travion over Quinshon, but as we've talked about on this show, like personally, I just think the Browns need a physical identity on offense, and Quinshon just provides it in a way that Travion doesn't. Yep. And so I'm wondering, like, am I overrating that, or do you think that's a really valuable, like, and basically an immeasurable trait that could shape the offense moving forward?
No, you were 100% accurate. Me having Travion over Quinshon does not mean that that's a better fit for the Browns. Travion has a lengthy injury history. Travion. He doesn't really break tackles, right? He runs away from tackles. Quinshon breaks tackles. Quinshon pours it up the middle. Quinshon's bigger. Quinshon can take you. We know that he can take an NFL workload. We just know it because his entire college career he's been doing that. Quinshon is the better fit for the Cleveland Browns. I 100% agree with you. I don't think that's me being biased. I don't think that's me being revisionist now that they have Quinshon. I mean, I think, you just look at it and it's like, yeah, okay, one guy is more razzle-dazzle and one guy is very matter-of-fact, this is what he's going to do. Maybe he has a lower ceiling, right? Because if Travion gains some weight, maybe he's all the injury stuff's behind him. Maybe he is that premier back in the NFL. Okay, fine. But I think Quinshon has the higher floor. Like, you know what you're getting. You just know what you're getting. And that's what made that Oregon game so weird too, is that, you would see Quinshon break tackles against defensive linemen and linebackers. I mean, maybe not defensive linemen, but linebackers fairly often. And Derek Harmon kind of just swallowed him up. He just kind of swallowed him up pretty consistently that day, which isn't a bad thing. Derek Harmon's a great defensive tackle. Derek Harmon's going to have a very good NFL career. Everybody has a bad day. But that's my point, is that, like, I remember that. I remember him not being able to break tackles from Derek Harmon. Like, if that's the biggest wart on your highlight film or your season, I feel like that's pretty damn good.
When we talk about the combine, I don't like putting too much stock into it. But there was no questioning of Judkins' athleticism going into it. But I think he shocked some people. We knew Travion was going to test out of his mind, but when, Judkins shows up 221 pounds and clocks the 4.4.
4.48.
I think 11.4 in the broad, which led all running backs. It just showed that explosivity, which should cause you to go back to the tape and be like, okay, how does that translate? So we fast forward here and we're going into Kevin Stefanski's wide zone scheme. What do you think are Quinshon's best traits that apply towards the way Stefanski likes to dial up a run game?
So the first thing about going back to the combine too, it should be noted, because I don't feel like enough people mention this. The combine, with the extended playoffs and the championship game being so close to combine, like, the guys were already like a month into prepping by the time they got done playing. Then they all took like a week off before they started training for the combine. So I could only imagine his combine being better if he would have got the average time to prep for it like everybody else. I was honestly shocked. I was told he wasn't going to be running at the combine because he was kind of bumped. A lot of those guys were bumped and bruised, and there wasn't a lot of time to train because they took that time to they prioritized rehabbing over training for the combine. So when he did show up to the combine and did what he did, I was like, whoa, he means business. I mean, we saw Will Howard go out there, and that was probably not a great choice for him, right? So, you know what I mean? Like, I was really shocked. But I think what Stefanski's looking for, he's looking for that Nick Chubb replacement. I don't want to act like Quinshon is a carbon copy of Nick Chubb. I don't want to act like that. But he does fit that role perfectly. He cuts explosively. I don't know if he has the best vision, but he doesn't have Trent Richardson vision. He's definitely better than that. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a level of trust there for him to find the right gaps, the right holes. He's very explosive. He's got no problem if it's there. If there's just a squeak open, he's going to get to the second level. He's very explosive, and he breaks tackles. He really does break tackles. And that's one thing. And the only reason I keep bringing that up, because it seems like such a simple, because most of these guys break tackles. But he breaks them at a different rate. Travion didn't break tackles like this. He just didn't. A lot of these running backs didn't. Dylan said those guys ran away from tackles. There would be guys wrapping Quinshon Judkins up, and he would move through them like Earl Campbell. It was like, dude, okay, like, and I think that was what Stefanski was looking for. He's looking through, okay, is this guy going to be able to fall forward and get me 3 yards? So, I mean, I think that's what he brings to the table. I don't think that there was a running back in the class that runs harder than him. There might be guys bigger, there might be guys stronger, there might be guys faster, but I don't think anybody runs harder than him. He just keeps his legs churning, and you can see that in the film compared to most.
Every once in a while I sit here and I think that I've outdone myself with questions. I'm a very vain person, as you can tell. That's what's going on here. But the question is cereal soup?
Is cereal soup? No, cereal's not soup.
Bullshit. It is.
It is? You think it's soup?
It's breakfast soup.
This is the hill. This is Jacob's Roman Empire, or the hill that he will die on.
But why is it? Why is it? Because it's liquid.
It's things in liquid.
It's things in liquid. I guess I always think of. Well, I guess I'm wrong then, because I always think of soup as like something that's hot. And cereal.
There's a lot of traditional soups that are cold. There are a lot of soups.
I need you to bring a list, Jacob.
I'll Google it. There's like 100 of them, and
there are cold soup. That's where I messed up. Like, okay, well,
yeah.
No, Josh,
I will concede to cereal being soup, but I will never refer to it as soup in my daily conversation.
No, you don't. I don't even think I do. I don't think I do.
There's a better chance of me eating cereal with a fork than me saying that it's soup.
Yes, yeah. That's
so I don't know if you know this to address Serge's. I don't know if you saw this, but Casey had a bet going with his co-host on All Eyes on Cleveland, Brad Ward. He had anyway. He made a bet that I almost made too back in like January. It was like January or February. And
January 23rd.
Okay. And Brad Ward said Jackson Dart's going to go in the first round. He goes, I'm not saying I agree with it because Brad didn't. He was saying Jackson Dart's going to go in the first round. And Casey's like, absolutely not. And I was saying the same thing, guys. Absolutely not.
He was a third round talent.
And he says the loser has to eat Spam on the show. Now, Casey had never had Spam. I told him it wasn't that bad. I kind of lied. But the point is that I was poor growing up, and we ate a lot of Spam, all right? So, like, you found a way. You found a way. I'm still poor.
Dude, first of all, Brad is very good about winning those bets. Last time I was on the show, he beat me on we got in a weirdly heated argument about Brendan Rice.
Yeah, no, that's going on this year. If he catches a football, Brad loses.
Brendan Rice.
I think Brad won though. I think based off of but I did win the Elijah Moore bet. I don't remember the specifics of it, but he wasn't even close to hitting those numbers. But yeah, man, I'm with you though. The Jackson Dart thing, he was I gave him a second round grade. He's super athletic. Like, I know that everybody points to Jalen Milroe as being the athletic one, but Jalen Milroe takes off, right? NFL scouts like guys like, the Fran Tarkenton type of scrambler that finds space, keeps their eyes down the field. Yeah, and Jackson Dart does do that. He does a really good job of that. Now, his big flaw, though, him and Shedeur Sanders, because people compare the way they hold on to the balls and say, well, Shedeur, because I always say I like Shedeur in the first round. They're like, well, he holds on to the ball just as long as Jackson Dart holds on to the ball for too long because he doesn't know where to go with it.
Yeah, if the first read's gone, he's like...
He has no idea what to do. So to me, drafting a guy that looks lost in a Lane Kiffin offense that made Matt Corral look good is unbelievable. It's unforgivable. But again, it's, sometimes that happens. We saw it with Christian Ponder. Christian Ponder was so average at Florida State that when he left, they threw a parade in Tallahassee because EJ Manuel was taking over. That's how bad Christian Ponder was. Dude went in the first round. I mean, it's weird how things happen. Quarterback is just one of those positions. I think that the interview process and the personality are so important, and we just don't have access to that. Like we're seeing these Shedeur Sanders stories leak out, and that guy, whoo, and like even like the Cam Ward thing, Cam had to do. I've known people that worked with Cam Ward and his party, and he had to do a lot of work. That's why I went back to school. That's why I went to Miami, because he was tiptoeing to the NFL last year, and they were like, are you still doing this stuff? You know what I mean? He had to kind of go out and prove it. So it's just, quarterback's just one of those things. So maybe Jackson Dart's just the straight-laced individual that we have no idea of.
I've got 3 questions I'd like to play over under with the show, if you guys are willing.
Oh, okay.
Shoot.
Okay,
Oh,
Josh.
you want to speak?
What's
Never
that?
mind. No, I'll tell you afterwards. You go first.
All right. So I'm gonna just go around from Josh to Jacob to Casey to me.
Okay.
And so my first question is over under 4 Shedeur Sanders starts next year.
Under.
Okay.
Under.
You say under too, Jacob?
Yeah.
I'll say over.
Yeah.
I'll say over.
I know you would.
I can't help it. I'm bought in, man. I'm bought in. Okay. Number 2. Over under. This is actually the official line. Jerry Jeudy, 925 receiving yards.
I'll take the over. I'll take the
No,
over.
it's hard.
I'll take the over.
Okay.
I'll take the over.
If Joe Flacco starts more than 10 games, this is a layup for me.
In 10 games. You
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is he though? Like how
Right? That's where I'm at. Like
That's the question.
50-50, right?
because if not, it's 2 rookies finding their way. Maybe they lean on him. I'd probably
Kenny
think
P.
Njoku would get those. I'm gonna
Kenny
say
P,
over.
You
I'm
don't
gonna
think
say
over.
You don't think Pickett can do it?
I'm
You don't think he's
looking
in
at 1250 last year
I do not.
with a half functional pass game. I'm saying over. Last one.
Casey, did
Over
you
under.
say over?
I said over.
Yeah, I said over.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you actually say it.
Okay. Last one. Over under 900 rushing yards for Quinshon Judkins.
Under.
Hold on, let me do math.
Oh Jesus!
I mean, that just feels like
See the
that
smoke
feels like
coming
a
out
lot.
of his ears.
Hold on. Times
Carry the
7.
2. Jacob's taking off his shoes to finish this out.
got some-
That feels like doesn't that feel like a lot for a rookie though?
It does, and I think it's going to be more of a committee.
times
And are they if the season goes to crap like we all think, are they going to run him into the ground? You know what I mean? Like wouldn't they?
I'm saying over.
Okay.
I'm going to say under, but it's above like 750. I think he has a really respectable year. I think he probably scores at least 6 times. But I think as a whole, if you add him, Sampson, Ford, I think that they're probably close to 1,500 collectively.
Yeah, I would agree with that take. I think the season ends. They have enough yards to where the season ends, and we're like, yeah, okay, that running back, that room is set. If that makes sense, we feel good.
So some math here.
Oh Jesus!
If Quinshon Judkins starts 17 games and he averages 22 carries per game,
Okay.
that leaves him with 374 carries. And if he averaged just 4 yards per carry, he would have nearly 1,500 yards.
I don't think he'll have over 275 carries.
Yeah, that feels like a lot. I mean, I guess I don't know. If they suck, I would hope that they wouldn't run him into the ground.
275 carries for a season at 4 yards per carry is 1,100.
You're expecting like a Cadillac Williams kind of just
Out the gate, just
run
burn like a
this-
supernova.
Oh, I tell you right now, I'm doing an article, right? 3 bold predictions for Browns rookies in 2025 during their rookie season. And Quinshon Judkins will lead all rookie running backs not named Ashton Genty in rushing yards in 2025.
Damn. And see, but piggybacking off of that, I'm saying over. And I'm saying over because I think Quinshon is the one back on the offense really built to run between the tackles. Like, no disrespect to Dylan Sampson or Jerome Ford. I just think Quinshon fills that role well. And I think Kevin Stefanski is a maestro of the run game when he has actual healthy linemen and maybe a back that has more vision than Jerome Ford. And I just think Quinshon's built to do that. I think he can seize the role. And you know what? I've been preaching and calling and praying for Joe Flacco to come back. I really think he could be effective with the run game. He carried the entire offense last year or 2 years ago. He carried the entire offense. They had no run game. It's like this 38-year-old dude is just throwing for 300 yards a game. Like, I really think he could be effective if he just had the threat of a run game and let Kevin Stefanski be deceptive on offense.
I think a lot of my trepidation comes from, like, a lot of the people I talk to, like a lot of the common comparisons you hear with Quinshon Judkins are like guys like Damian Harris, where it's like, who was okay, but he just got – they're always guys that got run into the ground. So, like, that's my big fear. It's like, dude, I want him to make it to a second contract, and I want him to be here when the Browns are good. So I get so scared when I hear, like Zeke is another one. I think that the Damian Harris one is okay. He's better than Damian Harris. Damian Harris was super stiff and did offered nothing in the passing game compared to what Quinshon can do. Zeke, I've heard that one too, and that one's a fair one, right? They're both. I think Zeke was more explosive, but they're both right in that same area. But like I said, Zeke had 4 years, and then he was done. Another one, Cedric. Yeah, Todd Gurley. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Cedric Benson was another one who had like 3 good years. A lot of his stuff was mental, and he had a lot of things going on. But he as Browns fans, we all remember when he had like 150 rushing yards with the Bengals that 1 year. He had like 3 respectable years. They just ran him into the ground. Thomas Rawls is another one. He had like 1 year where he was really phenomenal, and they just kind of fell off the map. And all those guys kind of have like the same. They check all the boxes that Quinshon has physically. So that's the only thing that makes me, I guess, it's wishful thinking, hoping it's the under because they don't run him into the ground for a useless season.
I guess that's fair. I guess I'm just not ready to throw the towel in. I'm not ready to throw it. I think that if they can run the ball effectively, they could be respectable on offense, and the defense needs to take a step forward like they did 2 years ago. But if they could at least be respectable on offense, they should be in games. That I don't know. Am I crazy?
I mean, it's the NFL any given Sunday, right?
I'd like to hope so, man. I would like to hope so.
I got money on the over on DraftKings.
I do too.
I got money on the over, so I'm with you.
I think it's 8-10. Like, I think realistically they're 8-10 win team probably. I mean, they need to find a safety because I did a predictive 53-man roster prediction for the OBR that went up today, and I was like, there are literally two rosterable safeties on that team right now. 2. And neither fucking one of them should be a free safety because it's Ronnie Hickman and Grant Delpit. And neither one of them need to be a regular full-time free safety. They've both given quality free safety looks, but I like both of those guys closer to the line of scrimmage.
Shout out to Ronnie Hickman though, dude. Man, he's having a hell of a career for someone who went undrafted and did not end his Ohio State career with the best showing.
Well, in the Senior Bowl, he got cooked. I was watching him at the Senior Bowl, just getting ran away from him. Like, oh, this ain't good. And then he goes undrafted, and then
that's when I knew he could go.
Like, okay, is that a camp body? And then you see him compete though, and you're like, hey man, he can play.
Yeah, he missed like 5 tackles that last game. Was that against Alabama? Was that the championship game?
Probably.
No, is that right? It was a bowl game, but he missed like 5 tackles, and I was like, dude, oh my god, it reminded me of Malik Hooker's brother. Remember Marcus Hooker?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, no, he's his brother, and he's bigger and he's faster. He's gonna be great, and he couldn't tackle. That's what he looked like that game. I was like, dude, this guy. When the Browns signed him, I was like, that's dumb. That's a waste.
I thought it was the other one that was going to make the roster. I can't remember his name now, but they signed both Ohio State safeties.
Oh, Tanner McAllister.
Yeah. And I thought he was gonna. I really did. I was like, Tanner McAllister has a real shot to make this roster. I just didn't think Hickman would do it, but Hickman went out there and he competed his ass off and he earned it, man. And
well, Hickman was a former 4-star, 5-star fringe guy. He was an Army All-American guy. Had dealt with injuries and just kind of things didn't fall into play. Some of those guys show up. And they're late bloomers, right? You get that where those recruiting rankings, and you just can't catch your foot when you're in college. And then, you get a shot in the NFL. None of those guys ever turn out to be superstars, but there's a long list of those guys that end up having very okay careers. You guys remember that, right? Was it Bryce Brown, who was like a 5-star running back that basically sat the bench his entire college career? It was in the NFL for like 7 years. There's a lot of guys like that. I think Hickman's he's carved out his niche. But yeah, some of those Quinshon Judkins comparisons though, they were a little. I think he's a lot better than one of those guys though.
If you were to point out some weaknesses though, because we got to tell both sides of the story. When I watch him, and you touched it a little bit on earlier, he's good at reading his blocks in front of him, but I don't think he has plus vision.
No.
And when we talk about Stefanski's wide zone scheme, a lot of that's finding that cutback lane, peripheral. And, he's got the athleticism to stick his foot in and get through it. But I think that's one area that could stop him from busting big runs, just that secondary lane stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, right? That's why, I guess I hinted at it earlier. When Ohio State, it's easy to see when Ohio State running back, like Travion did a really good job of cutting back and forth. I felt like he had this innate ability to anticipate where holes are opening. Quinshon doesn't have that. He's not he's got to see it to go. If he sees it, he's going to go. He doesn't miss it. It's not like Trent Richardson, and he doesn't wait. It's a blessing and a curse because he doesn't wait either. Some plays where it's like, man, if this guy had more of like a Le'Veon Bell feel to him, maybe something would break. Like Ashton Jeanty did that a lot. Like he gets a lot of crap for how he played against Penn State. But Penn State, like there were times where he kind of made his own hole just with his patience. You know what I mean? And that was Quinshon doesn't have that. Quinshon's like, all right, there's no hole. Time to get my 3 yards, which again is a blessing and a curse. He kind of like Isaiah Crowell was kind of like that too. If you guys remember him, right? When undrafted from Alabama. Yeah, he was kind of the same thing. Just didn't have that nuance. Do I think that can improve in the NFL? Hell yeah. I think that is a fixable issue because it's not like he can't. It's not like he does when he sees it, he just doesn't go. And there's a lot of running backs who are free. I mean, we saw that with who's the kid from Rutgers with the Chiefs? What's his name?
Pacheco.
If you go back and watch Pacheco at Rutgers, it's kind of embarrassing. Like that guy never hits a hole. He's a freak athlete. He's like 6'2", 220, runs a 4.2, and he's never in the right place. Like the way I can't believe he's playing this well in the NFL because that guy was flat out not good at Rutgers. The guy Monungai, who didn't get drafted this past year, was 10 times the running back at Rutgers than Pacheco's. And that happens a lot. Quinshon's not like that. If he sees it, he's at least going. I just don't know if he has the patience, and I don't know if he can anticipate the hole. But I think that those are improvable. Those aren't, it's not like we talked about Devin Neal, the kid from Kansas, who's just flat out too small to do it. He's too small to carry the workload. I think Dylan Sampson, I don't know if he's going to be, I think it was a great draft pick, and I talked a lot about that, but he went in the 4th round for a reason, and I don't think he has the physicality to ever be the guy you can rely upon all the time. Does that make sense? Quinshon, and I don't think you can improve on that. Either you're a dog or you're a pup, and I don't think that he's a dog like Quinshon is. But I think Quinshon's issues are all improvable. Another issue too is that when you're watching, and again, this might be my bias because I've seen Travion as a true freshman, and I didn't, I obviously I'm watching Ole Miss games when they're on TV, but I'm not following Quinshon's career like I was Travion. But Travion would do something like every other week. There'd be like a new aspect to his game where you're like, whoa, like, he blocked the defensive lineman, or he made a one-handed catch. I haven't seen that spin move. He reversed field. Like, it's just like he was constantly raising the bar of expectations. Quinshon didn't do that. He didn't. Every week was exactly the same for him, except for that Oregon game. Which again, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it's something you notice as a fan where it's like, okay, you gotta, it's kind of like when you're looking at a pass rusher. It's like, do you have another move, dude? Do you have any other move? And he didn't bring anything new. There was no Braxton Miller spin move moment where it was like, what? I didn't know you could do that. He did make a couple eye-opening blocks. I think that counts. I don't want to shit on that, but again, those are blocks that Travion was making. It's not like he didn't do anything that I was like, whoa, that's special. I don't know what that means for the NFL. Consistency is not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. Maybe what I'm saying isn't an insult, but it is something of note. You know what I mean? Ashton Jeanty was the same. Every time I turned on a Boise State game, it was like, whoa, he did something I didn't expect or whatever. Quinshon just doesn't do that. I don't know if he has that it factor. I do think he has the ability to have a, Derrick Henry dominant like career. I'm not saying he doesn't, because Derrick Henry's his Alabama tape wasn't his Alabama tape. But he's way bigger, but it was very much here's the ball, go get yards. Here's the ball, go get yards.
Yeah.
And Quinshon's tape is the same way. Again, different body types. It's not a great comparison, but their running styles are very similar. With I'm going to go just do my job. Again, maybe that's not an insult, but that is something you notice when you're watching Travion every week.
When we talk about some of the things that rookie running backs have trouble with, pass protection's right up there. And if I look at this, the way the running back room's constructed in Cleveland right now, like you're not calling on Sampson to do third down pickups, and what Ford can give you in the passing game, he doesn't give you as a pass protector. Ford's pretty atrocious in pass protection. So there's a clear path if you can protect a quarterback. And I think Quinshon's physically able.
Yes.
What were the technical deficiencies you noticed when he was in pass protection though?
It was nothing physical. It was just him not being in the right place at the right time. Again, Travion, and he's much bigger and stronger than Travion. You could see that in their running style. It's so funny because if they would let's say that they were doing I don't know, an Oklahoma drill against a linebacker, Quinshon would run the dude over. Pick any linebacker in the country, Quinshon run. I don't think I would always take the linebacker if it's a starting linebacker over Travion. I don't care if it's in the MAC because he didn't have that kind of fight in him, running style wise. But blocking, I'm taking Travion over Quinshon because Travion he anticipated. There was a play, I think it was the Devin Brown play, when Devin Brown came against Michigan State and he threw that touchdown pass to Jeremiah with that one-handed. Travion goes off to the right to block, and I don't even know how he saw it, but the last second, he hits that defensive lineman, whoever was coming, right before Devin Brown releases the ball. I'm pretty sure that's the play I was thinking of. Quinshon doesn't have highlights like that, but he blocks. If he knows where to go and he's ready for it and he's looking at it, it's just like the holes. If he sees it, he's going to do it. He's not going to get blown up. He may not put the guy on his ass like some of these other guys, but Dylan Sampson, I don't think Dylan Sampson's going to end up on his ass. You know what I mean? Quinshon's not going to be like that. Quinshon can block. He's big, he's strong, he's physical. He just doesn't have that. He just doesn't anticipate it. He's not. I don't know. I don't know if it's something that he wasn't asked to do a lot at Ole Miss. At Ohio State, they're asked to do it a lot. But I think that's something he can improve on too. All that stuff is just learning the game. And he's a very intelligent player. He's very intelligent. He's a super smart, bright kid and a good person. He's going to work really hard. So there's no physical deficiencies that I see that's going to stop him from being better.
I like that. I like it. It makes sense. He doesn't see, slivers pop open, kind of like you said, like Travion will find it and that kind of thing. And that's just kind of a thing too, where I think that he doesn't use his hands enough sometimes. I think he just leans on that physicality because he's like, you're not blowing me up, but I think if he could learn to see things a little bit better and get his hands up quickly, it would, coachable stuff. I think it can be understanding how defenses want to blitz you so that you have an idea where it could be coming from, things of that sort of thing where you can just be like, hey, when you see this, they like to, Baltimore likes to blitz Kyle Hamilton on the left side really late on the outside of the tackle because they do, and it works every time. Literally every time.
I think what you're describing too comes with, it comes with confidence and knowing where to go, right? He's bigger, he's stronger, he's more physical than Travion, but you can have more confidence into blowing someone up when you know they're coming, right? You know what I mean? Not on the same level. I'm not comparing myself to Quinshon at all, but I didn't block at all in high school. And then I got to college and I was forced to block. And I know what mentally he's thinking, where it's like, oh, thank God I made it. There's not really there's not time for you to be like, I'm going to blow this motherfucker up, because you're not thinking that. You're just thinking, whew, it's not my fault. You're just trying to get to the guy, you know what I mean? And he's physically big enough to where when he gets there, it works. When I got there, I land on my ass, you know what I mean? But I think that when he knows, when you understand where it's coming from, or you get that anticipation of where when the defender's coming at you, you can be more confident in where your hand placement is, blowing the guy up, putting their ass in the dirt. But again, that's kind of, maybe that's wishful thinking. I don't know. Some of this is going to be biased because, he's a Buckeye and a Brown now.
I think the most. You said something that really stuck with me because I was also surprised that Travion didn't go before Quinshon just because of the explosivity and the way that he can hit the home run.
Yeah.
That it. Don't get me wrong. I think Quinshon has that type of ability, but it's just not exact. He has that gear, but like it's just like maybe half a step less than the ideal I think you'd want it to be. And so I guess I come back to just you can't really measure physicality and like what that does to a team as you play them throughout the game. And so I understand that, but at the same time, it feels like an identity pick to me taking Quinshon over Travion, and I don't hate that. Especially when you can get a guy like Dylan Sampson later that does have that gear that you're looking for. I don't know. I think on an even playing field, more teams would probably take Travion, but I just feel like Quinshon fits the Browns better. Is that fair?
No, I completely agree with you. Travion was higher on my board, but for the Browns, I completely get why you take him, and I don't think it's insulting. I mean, he is his breakaway speed. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's great. I would say it is plus. It's better than most running backs in the NFL, but it's not elite. It's not Travion. It's not going to be Travion. It's not Ashton Genty. It's not I think that's what we saw. We talked about that comparison with Zeke. Zeke had that. Right, that's why Zeke went like in the top 5 or whatever. He had that ability where he had all the physical ability and you weren't catching him. Most people aren't going to catch Quinshon either, right? I don't think it's an insult. But we're talking about the elite of the elite, and he's not there. If he had that, he would have been a first-round pick. He would have been drafted higher than Genty because he's bigger and stronger, right? So I don't think that's an insult at all. But yeah, he's clearly the better fit for the Browns in this draft class too. Again, another reason why I think it was such a great pick is not just because I think Quinshon's a great player, but they clearly had a plan. The draft was filled with a lot of flashy running backs. Now, none I think there was 3 that were the total package, right? Genty, Hampton, and Henderson. But I talked about Devin Neal, right? There's other running backs. I can't think of them, but you guys I know you guys watch college football where they were a little undersized, but you're like, man, that guy's he's explosive. He's got that it factor. This could be something.
RJ Harvey, he ends up going to the second.
Yeah. But there's a lot of guys, but there were a lot of guys and I think the Browns saw that. The Browns were like, all right, we can get a guy like Dylan Sampson, that flash later, but this is the next best thunder every down workhorse back. Because he was. I mean, after Travion, he was the next guy on the board, right? Without a doubt. I mean, the next running back. I mean, he's very clearly more every down than Travion. Travion, he was higher on my board because I'm looking at last season. But if you look at the resume as a whole, too, Travion dealt with injury issues. The Browns don't want that. The Browns don't want to draft a guy and be worried if he's going to be able to make it to opening day. They want a guy they can hand the ball off to and pound away, dude. You know what I mean? So I'm with you. I think it was the best choice for the franchise, given what we know now.
I got one question before we get out of here. There's a huge crossover, as you know, between Browns and Buckeyes fans. Who's the Buckeye this year? It's kind of flying under the radar and not enough people are talking about.
Oh, dude, it's funny. I was just there's first of all Max Clare, the tight end, the incoming transfer from Purdue. The guy's big, fast, strong. He's probably going to be the best tight end since maybe Ricky Dudley. I mean, we're talking, dude. His sprint. I mean, the guy is just, and I think he's going to get a lot of targets. He's going to get a lot of weight. I don't want to say he's better than I don't want to say the difference between what I project him to do and Colson Loveland. I don't think there's a huge difference. I mean, we saw what he did at Purdue. And that was when he was getting all the focus. Now he's not going to get the focus. I mean, that's great. Carnell Tate, everybody talks about Jeremiah Smith. Carnell Tate, if he improves, and I mean, he's another one of those guys, A+ personality, hard worker. That dude's a first-round pick, man. That guy's going to be a stud. I think Davison Igbinosun, everybody hates him because of the pass interference calls. Well, first of all, I mean, yeah, they're bad, but he's tall. He's like 6'2". He's got great length. He checks all the physical boxes, and that can be improved upon. He's getting beaten. He's tackling the dude. All right, that's not good. I don't mean to dress it up, but he checks every other box, dude. So if he has a good season, I could see him being there. Jermaine Matthews was a guy when Denzel Burke was going through some issues, and they put him in there. Actually, both guys, Nick Vanosa went through some issues too, and they put Jermaine Matthews in there. Jermaine Matthews, he's going to be a junior next year. I know that the NIL collective was fighting really hard to keep him. That's a dude that I would watch out for this year. I think he's an absolute dog. And then the last guy I'll mention, Sonny Styles. He was a reclass. People have to remember he reclassified. He skipped his senior year of high school football to join Ohio State early. Joined as a safety and was like 20 pounds lighter, 30 pounds lighter than what he is now. They moved him to linebacker last year. He had a lot of struggles early in the year. The first 4 games, he was basically a liability. In the next 4 games, he was okay. And then he finished really, really strong in the playoffs. I mean, he was the best linebacker on the team by the time the season ended. And Cody Simon got drafted. He's going to be a dude. If he's gained a lot of weight. It's all good weight. He's very long. He's very big. I mean, his brother is a cornerback, and it's like Sonny Styles. I don't think it's crazy how athletic he is. That's a dude whose dad was also a high draft pick in Lorenzo Styles Sr., who played for the Falcons. I mean, I can't describe you the physical freak that Sonny Styles is. If he can put it all together, even slightly, I don't see how he doesn't go in the first round. Because even linebackers that don't put it all together, like Tremaine Edmonds or the Edmonds brothers, those guys got drafted in the first round too.
Well, man, Josh, I feel like we're leaving this show so much smarter about Quinshon and a lot of Ohio State prospects. And so I just thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. This is our new time, and you are helping to draw the people here. So please tell them where else they can find you.
Yeah, man. Follow me on X at Josh Keatley16. I record the Ohio State of Mind podcast every Monday with my co-host Chris Runyon at 9:00. We go live. We answer every single question. We even answer questions about the Australian Football League, which I don't know why. It just became a thing. We answered questions. Chris is in the military, so he was stationed over in Japan for a while. So we dabbled in the Japan League. Because that's what I don't know. We answer whatever pops up, dude. We answer. So we're doing that. We do that every Monday at 9.
That's awesome.
Hey, man, we can't thank you enough. And this was our first prospect like real breakdown. I feel like the Browns got a good one. So we're gonna see where things go. I think it'll be fun to look back at our over unders. And with that being said, if you click that like and subscribe button, we'll love you. This has been a Quinshon Judkins, Josh Keatley episode of the Barking Brown Show. And Nick, whoa, he's Josh. That's Jacob. He's Casey. Go Browns.
May the 4th